Welcome back. The decision to rename Aurangzed Road has sharply divided the residents of Delhi. For every person who approves of the change, there is at least one who is angered by it. This is because road names are much more than just the names of a road. They're part of the character and identity of a city. So tonight we ask, was the government right or has it made a silly mistake? I'm joined by the founding editor of thewire.in, Siddharth Varadarajan, and the well-known historian and columnist who's with us, Swapan Das Gupta. Siddharth Varadarajan, you are against the renaming of Aurangzeb Road, but how do you answer the charge that in a secular and democratic country, it's wrong to name one of the principal roads of the capital after a man who was a bigot and a tyrant and is alleged to have treated his Hindu subjects as second-class people?
Well, you know, roads, the roads of Delhi or the roads of in cities all over the country have got names. These names have evolved over a period of time. Not every person in this country is going to agree with what each and every one of those individuals did in their lifetime. So I think, you know, passing judgment on a historical personality to the extent to which you say that we should remove his name from a road, to my mind is completely unjustified. It makes no sense whatsoever, because once you start with Aurangzeb, there's always going to be a section of the population somewhere who disagrees with this or that historical personality or political personality. In my mind, the decision of the government of India, which was articulated by the Modi government as recently as April, was that when it comes to names of roads named after historical personalities, there will be no change. And I think this is a sensible decision of the government. I just wonder why they've overturned it in this sudden and peremptory fashion.
Let me put that particular point to Swapan Das Gupta. What you've heard, in fact, Siddharth Varadarajan refer to is an announcement made in the Lok Sabha on the 21st of April this year, just 4 months ago, by Hari Bhai Chaudhary, the Minister of State for Home Affairs, who said that the names of roads, crossings, streets, colonies and parks in Delhi is governed by guidelines issued by the Home Ministry as far back as 1975. And speaking in the Lok Sabha, the minister said, and I'm quoting the minister, "These guidelines make it clear that changes in the names of streets and roads not only create confusion for the post office and the public, but also deprive the people of a sense of history." And then the minister added, "Therefore, it was decided that the name of existing streets and roads should not be changed." Why has the government gone back on these well-established guidelines?
Because these guidelines were only there on paper. These guidelines are impractical. You wouldn't have had Curzon Road renamed Kasturba Gandhi Marg. You wouldn't have had Connaught Circus renamed as something else. I can't remember, it's been called something else. I think you cannot suddenly bring out a Home Ministry notification and say it cannot be done. There was a demand, and I'm very interested in knowing, Karan, from which opinion poll you got this figure that for every person who endorsed the renaming of Aurangzeb Road, there was one person who was opposed to it. I certainly have not come across this. Even the Chief Minister of Delhi, who belongs to a separate political party than the BJP, endorsed it quite clearly. The point which is important is that while the names of roads do not necessarily always signify histories, though sometimes they do, what they do is commemorate a certain person, an event, or something in the public memory. This is not to say that what is outside the road names are not part of history.
Okay.
But these are formal commemorations and celebrations of it. So, Mr. Abdul Kalam, a president of India who's widely respected, was, in the opinion of a lot of people, felt to be a far more consensual figure than the rather divisive name of Aurangzeb, whose presence on as a road sign actually, to use your very words, meant a violation to people like me, who thought, honor Mughal emperors by all means, but must you select Aurangzeb, who certainly violated this, what a lot of people in India consider very precious.
Let me bring in Siddharth Varadarajan. Siddharth Varadarajan, you alluded to the guidelines. In fact, you have a piece in your paper, the wire.in, which actually makes explicit the wording of the guidelines. But the problem is this, those guidelines seem to be breached rather than honored. After all, when the Congress government decided to rename Connaught Place, Indira Gandhi Chowk and Rajiv Gandhi Chowk, it was a complete breach of those guidelines. If the Congress can do it to honor their icons, the BJP can do it to honor those it considers important. Surely the precedent and the problem goes back to Congress first breaching this.
Yeah. No, I think it was a despicable act by the Congress to rename Connaught Place and Connaught Circus after Rajiv Gandhi and Indira Gandhi. And two wrongs don't make a right. I wish the BJP and others had created a bigger fuss and dug out these guidelines then, and perhaps raised it even as a legal issue. We would then not have to put up with the ignominy of this important landmark in Delhi named after these two prime ministers. But the fact is that nobody is begrudging a road or a street named for Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. The renaming of one road for another. There are plenty of roads in Delhi that either have obscure names or are unnamed, and these are important roads, or which have names that are not associated with any particular historical personality. And the guidelines say that these are the roads that can be named to commemorate or honor a national, local or international figure. So I think that honoring Dr. Kalam, there are plenty of ways to do, there are plenty of roads to identify. And one more point about these guidelines is that, the April mentioning of this in Parliament and referring to the same guidelines in December in the Rajya Sabha by the Modi government were in the specific context of the demand to get rid of the name of Aurangzeb from Aurangzed Road. So if the government in its wisdom, not once but twice, pretty much in the context of the demand to rename Aurangzeb Road, has looked at those guidelines and reiterated them in Parliament, surely this suggests that there's been some application of mind on the part of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister and their officials. So they need to explain to us why all of a sudden, on the basis of a demand from a BJP MP, you are upending what you said in Parliament not once but twice.
Let me stop you there and make explicit the point that you've made, because again it's a point that's in the wire, but maybe the audience won't know it fully as you do, and I'll put that as a question to Swapan Dasgupta. In December, speaking once again in the Lok Sabha, not the Rajya Sabha, the same Minister Haribhai Chaudhary made clear that there had been two demands, one by the BJP Delhi unit and another by the Delhi Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, to rename Aurangzeb Road. The BJP Delhi unit wanted it renamed as Guru Gobind Singh Road. The Delhi Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee wanted it renamed as Guru Tegh Bahadur Road. And both of those demands were rejected on the grounds that the guidelines had supremacy, the guidelines would be observed and implemented, and therefore historic names could not be changed. Why then suddenly change it when it's a question of replacing it for Abdul Kalam's name? To many that suggests that it's politics here and nothing more.
Well, it is politics, because these are man-made laws, these are man-made rules rather, which can be changed, because these rules in any case had always never been actually applied in reality. Since 1975, we've had hundreds of examples. We've got numerous examples, at least in the NDMC areas of big. Now, I think it's very, very important to stress one point, Karan, that the demand for obliterating the name of Aurangzeb as a road name has been there consistently for a very long time. This predated the demise of President Kalam, and it was fair, and it was there partly because the mere fact, and I don't think it's necessary to be squeamish about this at all, Aurangzeb to many people, including me, constitutes or represents certain values which we find objectionable. He is a figure who, while it certainly occupies a place in history, is certainly not a figure who should be commemorated in the sense that road names also honor things.
Can I stop you for a moment?
I think it's very important. Yes, it is politics. It is a sense of history. It is a judgment on history. And to that extent, I think they did right by actually renaming it from Aurangzeb Road to Kalam Road, Kalam Marg. Although I certainly agree, sir, there are others which other names which can be given as Guru Gobind.
All right, let me stop you there. That's a long answer. Let me stop you there.
I think that can be done.
Siddharth Varadarajan, would you have protested as much if the government had chosen to replace Aurangzeb, the name, with Dara Shikoh, that of his elder brother, the Sufi scholar who he first defeated and then cruelly put to death? That would have still retained the connection of the road with the Mughal Empire, with history, and with that particular family that Aurangzeb came from. Would that have been a better switch if a switch had to be made because Aurangzeb is offensive?
Absolutely not. I think that, you know, geography and cartography cannot be reduced to some kind of a morality play. History is full of all kinds of complex characters who did all kinds of terrible things. Perhaps they did something good, they did something bad, and there are lots of disagreements among people about how you evaluate these personalities. I think one of the mistakes that we do when we look at personalities like Ashoka, Akbar, Aurangzeb is to look at them purely through the prism of religion, and I think many modern historians would challenge that idea that the religion of the leader or the king was the prime determinant in everything that they did. But I want to underline, you see, disagreements exist. There is not far from where I live in Delhi, there is a Veer Savarkar Park. Many people I know would object to the naming of this park after Veer Savarkar, who stood for equally divisive, reprehensible politics. So I think, you know, once you begin this process of saying cities, roads, streets can only be named after people on which there is universal consensus, I'm afraid there will be plenty of streets and roads named after Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi in this country, although it's quite possible that somebody from the RSS tomorrow may object to that as well.
Let me Swapan Dasgupta at the end of the day put something else to you. The name of a road becomes part of the identity of a city. Secondly, people get used to them, they become fond of them, and then the change is wrenching. Why has this government overlooked this important concern? That after 70 years, people are as connected with that, they feel the road belongs to them, they want the name to stay the way it was, and they don't like it being changed.
Well, Karan, you certainly didn't object when Ratenden Road was renamed Amrita Shergill Marg. I don't know why you didn't object. So you didn't object when Curzon Road, and Lord Curzon actually is a very important historical figure in the context of India, was changed. Well, you see, Karan, it's not as simple. Our history is not guided by waving a copy of the latest A to Z. It is something a little more complex. Yes, I agree. It will mean some well-heeled citizens of erstwhile Aurangzeb Road will probably need to go to the stationers once again and redo their address to Kalam Marg. But apart from that, I think most of them can really afford it, because given the nature of that locality. But it is important, and I think this is the point which needs to be taken, that why aren't the people who were for it being renamed, kept Aurangzeb Road, why don't they come out openly and say, look, we feel Aurangzeb represents value which we are proud of, and therefore we would like to uphold Aurangzeb Road instead of taking refuge behind postal inconvenience, behind the idea of some 1975 obscure circular or Mr. Haribhai Chaudhary.
All right, gentlemen, let's leave it there. Quite clearly, this is an issue on which an issue on which there are polarized opinions that are unlikely to meet, but we've had an interesting discussion. I'd like to end it by saying the one thought that hasn't occurred to anyone is the thought, what's in a name? The answer is an awful lot if it's a road that you're contesting. My thanks to both of you for joining me, and if you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.